I thought I'd take a moment to make a YouTube video and review my State Fair knife. So first, I'm going to tell you what I don't like, and then I'll tell you what I do like, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about my philosophy concerning knives. So, let's start with what I don't like. Well, first of all, the knife, I don't know who makes it. I think it's some company that calls themselves Super Knife or something like that. I think I paid like $20 for this knife. And it's probably one of the lowest quality knives I've ever owned in my life. It says on here, stainless steel China, made in China. And on the other side, there's nothing. Okay, so let's start with the blade. First of all, I use my knives for things. My knives end up cutting food sometimes, and these holes get food in them when I use this knife to prepare food, and they can sometimes be a bit of a pain to clean, so I don't really like that about it. The blade is a pretty soft steel, which on one hand is nice for sharpening. It came fairly dull, and so I sharpened it up myself. You can see kind of a glimmery edge on there. I feel like I did a really good job on this one. I took it all the way down to my polished stone. Come on, and I stropped it. Come on, my camera should be able to do this. There we go. I stropped it, so it should be very, very nice. It did not hold an edge very long. It's kind of a cheap, crappy steel, and I don't know if you'll be able to see or not. If you look at the very spine, you can see there's some jimping on the spine here. Let's see if we can get my camera to focus up close. There's some jimping on the spine, and if you look at just the right angle, you can see how the metal is kind of crimped in towards the center. You might be able to see that, kind of the way that the light is reflecting off the grooves inside the jimping. So this was apparently stamped out of a sheet of crap at one point. It's a terrible steel, terrible blade. The ergonomics of this handle are non-existent. In fact, I think if you spoke to the makers of this knife about fit and finish, it would be a very one-sided conversation, because I don't think they know what those words mean. It's terrible. Unless you have like 3 giant fingers to hold this knife with, the handle design is awful. I can kind of squish 2 fingers in this front groove up here, and my other 2 kind of slide into the back, kind of like that. But it's not comfortable. You get hot spots, and the metal isn't finished well on the edges. So I mean, they removed burrs, but there's still kind of sharp edges on these metal liners here. Terrible, terrible design. It looks like something that I would have doodled on my kindergarten papers. I used to draw like knives and guns and stuff back before drawing a gun on your school paper would land you an appointment with the school psychologist. So the actual form of the handle is awful. The materials are also terrible. I don't know if you'll be able to see or not, but you can see kind of on this back scale here how it's a little bit cracked. It came like that. I didn't abuse this knife. Also, this one wiggles back and forth. I ended up tightening all of the screws that I could on these scales, which, by the way, the screws poke through the liners into the inside. Again, there's no such thing as fit and finish with this knife. The awful, terrible design. Let's see if I can get that to actually focus a little bit. It might not deal with me. Anyway, let's get this up closer a little bit. Okay, here we go. There, you can kind of see in there. Terrible. Awful. The screws just poke right through to the other side. The pocket clip, I don't have too many negative things to say about the pocket clip, except I don't really like the 2 corners of the pocket clip. Not my favorite. So that's, I mean, this knife is a terrible blade steel. It doesn't hold an edge. The ergonomics are awful. It's not comfortable to hold. Now let's move on to the things that I do like about this knife. It is functional. As an automatic knife, I tell you what, I have never had the lock fail. The lock just slides to the inside or the outside. Inside means you can't open it. I've never had any problems with it. Outside, it snaps out. And I tell you what, this knife has gusto when it snaps. I play with this knife. I pull it out of my pocket, in and out and in and out, and it has never once failed to fully engage. Even if I take this all the way up, it locks into place. Full travel on the spring. It snaps out smartly, locks well. Even the act of pushing the button it's really quite smooth. I've played with other automatic knives where you can feel kind of a grittiness as you push down on the button, and this is a nice clean break. It's a nice smooth open. That's probably my favorite feature about this knife, is that it's the first automatic I've ever owned, and it's a clean open. Nice, clean function. I really like the colors. I love this fake whatever this is. I don't think it's real wood. I'm pretty sure it's fake. Oh, and I forgot to point out, these scales are actually terribly fitted together. You can see here kind of the way that there's a gap here at the top of this space, and they're touching down at the bottom. It's just, the knife was terribly made. But I do like the color scheme. That's part of the reason I bought it, was I really liked the look of the knife. And that's a legitimate, valid point when considering the knife that you buy or the knife that you want to get. If you like the look of it, go for it. It's about getting the knife that you want and the one that makes you happy. And for, what did I say, like 20 bucks? I wasn't going to complain about it. I do like the tension of the pocket clip. It's a good stout pocket clip. It's never failed me. It's never fallen out. It doesn't chew up my pants. I like that about it. So that's valid. It's a valid point. I will say I like this curvature of the handle because it's nice when I've got this. Close that up. When I've got this in my pocket, I usually carry it right pocket, so the back of my pocket is here, and this is, my hand travels past this curvature to go into my pocket, to reach into my pocket, and that's very smooth and comfortable. I like that curvature. As a secondary feature, if I'm holding this in kind of the ice pick grip, sorry my focus is everywhere, I'm still learning how to do these videos. That is nice to have that groove there, that curvature at the end. It fits really nicely on my thumb. My thumb likes that a lot. So I will say that about it. So now that's everything I have to say about this mystery super knife from the State Fair. I had a great time at the State Fair. I bought a knife, I had fun with it, and I like using this knife. It's fun to pull out and flip out, because it works very well every time. So now I wanted to talk a little bit about my philosophy about knives. Knives are like people, and this is where I can kind of explain why I'm not really a knife snob, despite the fact that I have an appreciation for very valuable, very expensive knives. Knives are like people. They come in all shapes and sizes and colors, right? Some knives are sharper than others. Same thing goes for people. Some knives are brighter than others. Same thing goes for people. But while we're not being rude, let's be real for a second. There are a lot of different knife styles in the world. There are a lot of different functions of a knife. And different knives are good for different things. Same thing with people. I feel like every knife is good for something. This was the perfect knife for me the day of the State Fair, because I didn't have an automatic opener, and it was my favorite choice amongst the knives I was looking at to buy. I did like the look of it, and it suited my needs. The very best knife for you is the knife that suits your needs. I really feel like that's true. That's not just some whimsical, I don't know what to call that. I don't know. It's not some stupid quote that I'd like to just throw on the side of my car. The right knife is the knife that suits your needs. So, in my philosophy of knives being like people, the same thing is true. I believe that every person is good for something. They're good at something. Not everyone is good at everything. This knife is not really good for wood carving because of the serrations. However, it's really good for cutting seatbelts because of the serrations. There's a give and take. The same thing goes with people. I know people that really are not very good at math, myself included. But they're good at other things. Maybe they're really good at reading. I, for one, am terrible at football. I'm almost worthless as a football player, which is embarrassing because I'm a guy and I'm supposed to be good at football, but whatever. I suck at football. Not even close to being good. But I'm good at other things. I can flip a balisong knife. Not super well, but I can flip a balisong knife. I am really good at doing what I do for work. I'm a good salesman. I'm a good hard worker. There's other values to me as a person. And the same thing goes with everyone across the globe, in my opinion. So when you look at a knife, you may think, like this one, terrible design, poor fit and finish, it's a $20 knife, why waste your money? Well, because I wanted it. It had its own values. And it's been a learning experience to sharpen the knife. So it's good in that regard. Even though the steel is very soft and kind of sucky, it's good for practice sharpening. And I would say the same thing for a lot of soft steel knives out there. There are other knives that have very hard steel blades, and they hold an edge very well. That's great, but it's hard to learn how to sharpen on those knives because they're so hard. It takes a long time for you to see your progress, for you to see if something else is affecting your sharpening process. So I guess that's kind of what I wanted to try and establish with this video. I don't think there's a knife in the world that doesn't have a place. This knife is a crappy knife, but it has a place in my collection. And the same thing goes with all people. There are people out there that are just not very good at video games, if I want to play video games with them. But you know what? They're good company anyway, and I'd like to spend time with them. Or, insert any other feature of your life in that same sentence. I don't think anybody should poo-poo a $10 knife or a $5 knife or a $2 knife because it has a purpose. Maybe you want to buy a $2 knife and throw one in every single backpack you own so that you always have a blade on you, even if it's not made of D2 steel. I think there's a purpose for every knife, and knives are like people. There's a purpose for every person out there as well. So there you get a little bit of Ben philosophy. I know as soon as I finish the video I'll think of something that I wanted to say but forgot to say. I can always include it in another video. Anyway, that's my review of the $20 State Fair knife. Almost valueless as a cutter, but a lot of fun as a toy. I hope you've enjoyed watching. Please let me know what you think in the comments. And I'd be curious to hear what is the crappiest knife you've ever owned. And I'd like to hear how much you hated it or how much you loved it. Thanks for watching.